Good afternoon, folks. It's Matt here from Live for Fitness Personal Training. We're going to run through just a couple of those techniques that we spoke about in our latest article on throwing a punch from powder puff to power. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our foot positioning. As we said in the article, we want to start facing our partner directly. Okay, today my partner is this lovely black boxing bag. Normally though in our classes you'll be facing off against another client or one of us trainers. So once we've started facing our client direct on, we want to imagine that square on our feet as described in the article. So my toes would be on the front two corners of that square with the rear two behind me. I want to step my back foot, whichever one that may be, onto that back corner. I end up standing at 45 degrees. Now the reason we don't stand really side on in a traditional boxer stance is because even though we're providing a lesser target for our opposition to hit, which hopefully isn't going to happen in our class, what we do want to do is provide ourselves with the opportunity to throw elbows, knees and our kicks as well. So when we're standing in that 45 degree stance, it's much more open for us to throw any particular technique at any one time. And it's just nice to get into that habit of being in that stance at any particular time in our session. Once we've got our 45 degree set up from our partner, we want to soften those knees and bring the weight onto the balls of our feet. This allows us lots of movement through the knees and hips and basically creates a little bit of a spring in our punch. Alright, allows us to start transferring that power off the ground. The next part in that transferring of power through the ground is our core. It links our feet to our hands, and if we're generating all this power off the ground and we're not tight here, it's going to disappear as it travels up through our body. Okay, we're not going to get that power generation into our arms. So we want to make sure 45 degree weight on toes and a nice strong core to link that power from the ground up into our punching arm. From there we want to make sure that our arm can handle the power that we're now generating out of the ground. What we want to do first is make sure we've got a stacked elbow and wrist. By that I mean any straight line power into the bag should be through elbow, directly through wrist, into bag or pads of your partner. What we don't want to see is wrist higher than elbow or elbow higher than wrist, whatever it may be. As soon as we get into this position, we're just asking for that elbow to bend and that wrist to bend, and we're going to end up with a sprain. Alright, so we always want to end up with that nice stacked elbow, wrist, direct power into our pad or our bag. What we also want to do with our arm is we want to cock the wrist slightly. So we get a nice straight arm and then we just drop the wrist down very slightly, tighten up all those forearm flexors, squeeze the fist very, very gently. Okay, it doesn't have to be really strong, we're just going to fatigue our hands in that case. So a gentle squeeze helps to tighten up those muscles in the arm, and this cocked wrist position will just allow forces to be transferred up through the arm nice and evenly, which is what we're after. Alright, once we've got to that point, we get to those hips. Okay, I stated in the article, loose hips equal big hits, and it's a true statement. Even if I've got a nice soft knees, I've got a good grounding through the balls of my feet, my core's tight, but I don't move my hips, I just end up with arm punches again. And I'm going to get very little power and I'm going to get fatigued really quickly through my shoulders. What I want to do is loosen those hips up. My core's still tight, providing a link from the ground up to my hands, but every time I throw a punch, I'm driving through that ball of my foot, driving whichever hip forward. Okay, if it's my cross, I'm driving the right hip forward. If it's my jab, I'm driving the left hip forward. Okay, doesn't matter which one it is, but either way, I'm driving that hip forward, which is allowing me to deliver that power efficiently all the way from the ground through a strong core, hip forward and power into my arm. Very last thing we want to do in our classes, and indeed whenever we're boxing, is we want to work on the retrieval of the punch as well as the throwing itself. We want to work 100% of the time. There's no point in only working on the push out and dropping our hands down. We're getting 50% of the work out, and what we're also doing is we're leaving our hands out of position. If I throw a jab and then a cross and I drop my jab down here, before I can effectively throw that jab again, I've either got to bring it up here and then throw it out, or I throw it from down here and all of a sudden I've got that incorrect arm position. I want to have that wrist and elbow stacked. So the trick is we work hard on the out and we work hard on the retrieval. So punch goes out along the line and it follows that same line back into the chin. That way, when we're alternating punches, we're always getting that hand set up and ready to go for the next punch. Now, it doesn't matter whether that next punch is a jab, cross, uppercut, hook. Either way, we want the hand to start from our chin. Example, if we go jab, cross, uppercut, we go 1, 2, and that jab is already back at my chin and ready to be thrown as the uppercut. Same deal on our hook again, we go jab, cross, it's back at my chin and ready to be thrown out for the hook. Every time my hand ends up in the right position for the next punch. Very last thing we want to talk about is what I call the rudder of our punch, essentially our heels. Okay, I didn't mention this in the article because it's just much easier to show. When we're throwing a punch, that foot steers where that punch's power is going to go. So if you see me when I throw this cross and you watch my heel, it spins around. Okay, ball of my foot is still planted very strongly. The heel is spun around, and if you look through my foot, there's a direct line straight to my bag, straight to my punching target. Same would happen if I transfer that punch onto my jab. Heel comes off the ground, spins, so I've got a nice straight line through my foot, straight to that bag again. Doesn't matter, again, which punch we go to, uppercut, hook, every time that heel is our rudder and steers our power. Example, a jab and then an uppercut. Watch my heels, the jab, heel rotates, okay, and then this right heel will rotate through, which allows me to direct the power into the bag and deliver that corresponding hit forward. If we go to our hook and we throw a cross hook combination, the same thing will happen again on both punches. So I'll turn the heel, direct that power towards the bag and deliver the hit, and then again on my left foot, as I throw the hook out, I will rotate that heel because I've got that power coming around to the side and through the bag parallel to the ground. So that foot spins out, the heel steers the power into my target every time. Okay, recapping very, very quickly, guys. Our foot position, start square to our partner, bring it back to 45 degrees. Weight through the balls of your feet, knees nice and soft, core tight to provide that link. Power from the ground, through the core, into those arms. Very next thing we want to do, elbow through wrist and that nice cocked wrist position to make sure we're nice and safe and dispersing that power evenly up our arms. Deliver the hips forward into our punches to get power and use those heels as a rudder to direct that power where we want it to go. Have fun, practice it, and we hope to see you in one of our boxing classes soon. Cheers.